I've put together a visualization of the tools that we'll end up using, including ones we've already started using, like Bower, SAS, and SAS extensions. Now eventually we're going to add 2 additional tools. Pretty soon, we're going to start using Bundler, and eventually we'll add in Grunt and Gulp. But this whole visualization includes all of the third-party software that you're going to need on your local machine in order to work with the main tools that you need as a front-end developer. So even though at some point it can feel overwhelming and that we're working with layers upon layers of software, once you see it broken down, it doesn't seem all that crazy. So here's what we've gotten so far. The first software that we wanted to install was Bower. Bower is a package manager that we can use to install and manage versions of front-end packages. We used it for normalize.css. In order to use Bower, we needed to install Node. Node is also something that we're going to use to install Grunt and Gulp. So those are the 2 pieces of software that we needed in order to manage versions of software for our front-end project. Now the second thing we wanted to work with was SAS. And in order to use SAS, we had to install Ruby. If you're on a Mac, Ruby came installed, but if you were on Windows, then you had to install this manually. So now we have Node, Bower, Ruby, and SAS. Finally, in the last step, we added a SAS extension, and these are also installed with Ruby. But each SAS extension is considered its own little piece of software. It's a bundle that we install with the gem installer. So again, our problems with using local software are twofold. First, we need to hook up anybody else who's going to be working with this project with the same software. And secondly, we need to make sure that our future selves know what software we were using in order to work with an old project. And once we figure out how to do that, then we're pretty much home free. But it takes just a couple more pieces in order to get this right. So Bower, which was the first thing that we installed, was a way to help us manage versions of front-end third-party components. Now, when it comes to SAS extensions, like the SAS globbing extension that we just installed, we'll also need to manage that version because we want to make sure that we're using the same version as other people on the project and that in the future, even though we might have updated our extension version, that we can install the version that we were using now so that we can successfully work with the project without any errors later on. And the way that we're going to do that is with a package manager called Bundler. You can see how this is purple and Bower is purple because these are both package managers. So once we get Bundler squared away, which will be one of our next steps, we'll be able to deal with the problems of other people and our future selves, at least when it comes to gems, which in our case translates to SAS extensions. Now the 2 wildcards that we have at this point is the version of Ruby that we're using and the version of Node that we're using. Sometimes these can make a difference. In the future, a new version of Ruby might not be compatible with the version of SAS that we're using right now. And so if we don't have a way to manage the version of Ruby, then we could be stuck later on. So for that, there's a program called RVM, or Ruby Version Manager. And for Node, we're going to have the same problem. Right now, we're not doing anything in our project that says that we're using a particular version of Node or Ruby, but we can do that with NVM for Node, which is Node Version Manager. Now, once we're using RVM and NVM, then Ruby and Node are no longer wildcards. In this series, we're not going to cover RVM or NVM. They're a bit more challenging to install and configure, and there's not a supported NVM for Windows yet, although there are some alternatives. The biggest problems that you're going to run into aren't really going to be with the Ruby or Node versions, though. They'll be with the version of SAS and the versions of the SAS extensions. We can help other people on our project get set up with the same exact environment that we're using, at least when it comes to front-end development, and later on, we can recreate this environment if we need to work with an older project.